was cycling along a quiet country lane in her home village of Wigington, Staffordshire, one evening in June 1972. Later that night, she was snatched from her green bicycle and beaten to death. Her body was hidden in a field. Andrew Evans was a soldier at nearby Whittington Barracks, and police questioned him as part of their routine inquiries. Evans was a troubled teenager who suffered from depression and anxiety and soon became fixated on the crime, even having vivid dreams that he had murdered Judith. Evans arrived at the police station asking to see a photo of the victim. Hours later, he had signed a confession claiming to be the killer. Although he quickly retracted his statement, Evans was found guilty of Judith's murder in 1973. He accused police of using a powerful sedative on him to extract a false confession. In 1997, the conviction was overturned and Evans received nearly a £1 million compensation. Judith Roberts' murder remains unsolved, and many criminologists believe Peter Sutcliffe, also known as the Yorkshire Ripper, is responsible. The serial killer, who died in 2020, regularly drove through the remote village while working as a truck driver in the 70s. So, the next one. A nurse left her elderly patient at his home on the night of January 7th, 2004. The following day, she returned to wake 83-year-old retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert Workman. She found him laying dead in the open doorway of his remote cottage, killed by a single shotgun blast. Police in the peaceful village of Fernau Pelham had no clue why anyone would want to kill the frail and lonely man. The only suspect was 24-year-old Christopher Doherty Bunchen from a neighbouring village, who had worked as a handyman for the Colonel. With no evidence, the case grew cold until Doherty Bunchen was arrested for another murder in 2006. In jail, Doherty Bunchen told a cellmate that he had met the wealthy Colonel when he was hired to remove a wasp's nest from his cottage. Soon, his relationship with the generous older man became sexual. He boasted to another prisoner that he had been paid to murder the war veteran, and this new information was passed to the police. Doherty Bunchen was found guilty of the Colonel's murder in 2010, but he described the claims as village gossip. Right, this was meant to be unsolved, but I guess some are. A tractor driver spotted a plastic sheet on farmland near the village of Cockley Clay, Norfolk. Wrapped inside was the headless body of a woman dressed in a frilly pink nightgown, her hands bound with rope. The sheet was stamped with the letters NCR, short for National Cash Registers. It was from one of the thousands of pay roll machines in the country, but its exact location could not be confirmed. Her night dress was brought from British retailer Marks and Spencer in 1969, and the rope binding her hands was traced back to a factory in Scotland. The body, found in 1974, remained unidentified. In 2008, the body was exhumed from its unmarked grave for further tests. An isotopic analysis found that the victim had consumed water from Scotland, that her diet was mainly fish, and that she originated from Denmark or Germany. Many locals believe the victim could be an eccentric figure known as the Duchess, a Danish sex worker based at the nearby Great Yarmouth Docks, who had gone missing in 1974. She had lived in an old hut at the ferry port, which had direct links to I'm gonna butcher this, Esbjerg in Denmark. No one knew her name or what had happened to her. With no known relatives available for DNA testing, the identity of the Duchess remains a mystery. The next one. Josephine Bagshaw, a wife and mother from Malden, Essex, was looking for part-time work. In the pre-internet world of 1974, she placed an advert in the local newspaper stating her qualifications, including own transport, anything considered, able to type. A man named Peter contacted Josephine, offering paid modelling work, and she went to meet him at 6 p.m. on October 29th, 1974. Josephine's body was found 56 kilometres away, near the village of Bury Green in Hertfordshire. She had been strangled and left in a ditch. Her watch had stopped at 8:10 p.m. Peter was never identified, despite witnesses describing a man seen with Josephine in the nearby village of Good Easter. The case was reopened in 2010, and a 6-year-old local man was arrested, but later released without charge. Late one night after Christmas 2013, a burglar broke into a house on Smugglers Lane in Bosham, West Sussex. Thinking the house would be empty, the intruder was looking for a safe containing cash and gold ingots. Instead, he was confronted by 55-year-old Valerie Graves, who was house sitting over the holidays. The next morning, Valerie's visiting relatives found her body in a bedroom next to an unlocked door. She had been bludgeoned to death with a claw hammer. Residents of the village, where the TV drama Midsummer Murders was once filmed, were shocked by the killing. Police set up voluntary DNA screening and tested 5,000 people without success. In 2019, a woman in Romania contacted the police about her ex-husband Christian Sabu, whom she suspected could be involved. In 2013, the couple had lived in the UK, and Sabu had worked as a handyman at the house where Valerie was killed. involved was William Gardiner, a lay preacher and father of 6. An autopsy found that Rose was pregnant and had been killed at midnight. Gardiner claimed he had been with the neighbours at 11:30 p.m. that night, watching a summer storm light up the village. Gardiner was arrested and the trial began in 1902. The jury failed to reach a verdict, and at the second trial in 1903, they still couldn't decide. Gardiner was freed and is one of the few people to be tried for murder in England without a verdict being reached. Interesting. Bernard Oliver, 17, went missing from his London home on January the 6th, 1967. 10 days later, and kilometres away in the village of Tattingstone, 2 suitcases were left at the side of a deserted road. A villager clearing hedgerows discovered the cases and the gruesome contents. A human body, sliced into 8 parts. The unknown male victim had manicured hands and neatly folded clothes. One suitcase bore the initials PVA. In a bid to identify the victim, police photographed the severed head, which was then splashed across national newspapers. That's insane. I'm gonna have to look that up. Bernard's brother saw the front page while travelling on a bus, and the family confirmed it was their son. During the days he was missing, Bernard was seen in the village carrying 2 suitcases, while other witnesses placed him in London. Police believe Bernard fell victim to an organised paedophile ring, but no arrests have been made. A white Cadillac-style car was a rare sight on the streets of Monkton, a village in Kent. Witnesses remember the vehicle winding through the narrow lanes until it reached a cottage belonging to Alan Leopard and Brenda Long. 2 men got out and knocked on the door before driving off. When a second knock came at 10 p.m, Alan opened the door and was blasted in the chest by a 12-bore shotgun. He died at Brenda's side. Several villagers described the 2 men in the car on the night of April 1st, 1991, but the killers have never been traced. Months later, Brenda was found dead in her bathtub, clutching a bottle of pills in an apparent suicide. A pathologist examining her body noticed a strong chemical odour and bruising around the nose. Tests found that Brenda had died after a cloth soaked in deadly ether was forcibly held to her face. Police believe the 2 murders are linked, but both remain unsolved. 17-year-old Anne Noblet stepped off a bus at Cherry Tree Corner near Wheatonstead on a December night in 1957. A witness saw Anne enter the dark winding lane leading to her home and noticed the tail lights of a parked car. Anne was never seen alive again. 32 days later, her body was found 7 miles away in Rosegrove Wood. She had been strangled and her frozen solid. Police were baffled as the January weather had been unseasonably mild, and an earlier search of the woods with a tracker dog had found nothing. Detectives theorised that Anne had been abducted from the lane and her body had been stored in a deep freezer. The killer had taken her frozen body to the woods and staged a murder scene. Coins from her purse were found scattered around the area. When Anne's body was discovered, her clothing appeared untouched. However, on closer inspection, some garments had been buttoned incorrectly, and her glasses were hastily placed back on her face. Botanists measured the growth of wildflowers underneath and around the body and found she had been placed there 2 weeks earlier. Local businesses with industrial-sized freezers and even ice cream trucks were searched for forensic evidence, but the deep freeze murder has never been solved. I think this is the last one in this article, but I will do something similar in the future. Snow was falling in the village of Rettington, Essex, as two farmers made their way down Workhouse Lane at 8 am on December 7th, 1995. A Range Rover was blocking the narrow farm track, and inside they found 3 men who appeared to be asleep. On closer inspection, all 3 were dead, blasted at close range by a shotgun in a scene later described by detectives as carnage. The victims, Craig Rolfe, 26, Pat Tate, 37, and Tony Tucker, 38, were notorious crime lords from the nearby town of Basildon, who controlled the local drug trade with violence and intimidation. How they met their deaths on a quiet country lane was a mystery until a man named Darren Nichols came forward. Nichols was a driver for a drug importer named Michael Steele. On December 6, Nichols drove him and his associate Jack Holmes to Rettington for what he believed was a routine drug deal. The pair returned to the car with blood-stained hands, and Steele joked that he felt like an angel of death. Nichols' information led to the arrest and conviction of both men for the triple execution. He now lives abroad under a new identity. Steele and Holmes have always denied involvement. So, I'm like I've got big interest in true crime, but everything I tend to watch and read about is all crimes in America and Canada. So despite the fact that, I live in England, I have never actually heard of any of these. There's some that I want to have a little bit more of a look into. I'll potentially do a full video on 1 or 2 of them, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. And like I say, I am going to do my own weeks. Like I say, I'm going away, so this was just something I thought would be quick for me to record and get out while I'm away. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else, so I think we'll